Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, how are you? My name is Kylie, and if you're not new here, welcome back. I think you know what's going on. I think we all know what's going on by the title, alright? We're gonna do my June TBR. Now, mind you, was June the best reading month for me? No, not at all. Not at all. Is that okay that I only read 6 books in June? Yes. 100% okay. A part of me wishes I could have had time to read more, but that happens. You know, sometimes you only could read 6 books in a month. Sometimes you have a great month and could read 15. It is what it is. And I think especially reading a book that I started my month off was like almost 700 pages, definitely over 600 if I'm not mistaken. Starting that book off for the beginning of my month kind of like set the tone for the pace I was gonna read for the rest of the month, which I'm okay with, honestly. There was a few books that I really wanted to get to, but I couldn't get to. I only read 6 books in June, and out of the 6 books, 3 of them was on my June TBR, and I think that's pretty good. I only picked 7, so technically I do think 7 may be too much to be putting, so I think next time I do that video, I'm only gonna do 5. And I think that I can accomplish, and then slowly work my way up to 7. You know what I mean? So anyway, to start this video off, we're gonna get to my stats. I read 6 books in the month of June, so that is 2,152 pages. All the books I read was fiction. The genres that Storygraph says that I read was 4 romance, 2 contemporary, 1 dystopian, 1 magical realism, 1 young adult, 1 thriller, 1 historical, and 1 fantasy. Out of the 6 books, 4 of them was physical copies and 2 of them was digital. I read 1 book that was 300 pages or less. I read 4 books that was 300 to 499 pages, and I read 1 book that was 500 plus. Now, the moods that Storygraph said that I read, and this is in order, is emotional, adventurous, reflective, tense, hopeful, funny, and dark. I understand the dark. And my average rating for the month was a 4.2. So, now we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get right into it. So the first book that I read for this month, which I think kind of put me in a bit of a book slump or a reading slump for a little bit, it just wasn't gripping as I thought it was going to be, and that's Iron Flame. Now, mind you, I read this in a book club with my 2 friends, and one of us was really enjoying it, and then the other 2 of us was not so much enjoying it. I thought I was gonna like it more than I did, but it turned out it didn't really capture me like Fourth Wing did. I think it was just a little slow for me personally, even though there was a lot of things going on in this book, like the war, and it was a lot of things going on in this book, but for some reason it just couldn't capture my attention, and after every 2 chapters, if that, I just wanted to put it down and go check my phone, or put it down and go do anything else but read this book. For some reason, I just felt this weird disconnect with it, and I didn't understand why, because I loved Fourth Wing. So it was just really strange to me. I think maybe it's because in this book, Xaden and Darna isn't really in it as much as I would have hoped they were in it, and I think those are my 2 favorite characters of the whole book. Like, I do understand why the book took that turn. I do wish and hope and pray for the next book that they are more in it, and it's more, they have more of conversations and more banter with them, because I just miss them at this point. When I finished this book, I was like, oh, I hope they were just building up to get to that 3rd book, so everyone is just like in it. Yeah, so I didn't really feel that entertained in this book until like page like 500, then it started like gripping me, and I actually was like, oh, I can't wait to read tonight or something like that. But during the whole first 400 to 500 pages, I kind of just felt off. There wasn't that much romance in this book. It was still, some parts of it was there, but I'm guessing because Xaden wasn't really in the book that much, there wasn't that much romance, which kind of sucked and I was kind of sad about. But at the same time, this book was still really, really good, and I still did enjoy myself. Was it super slow to me? Yes. Did it take me 10 days to finish this book? Yes. I don't know why, I don't know what was up with me, but that's just how I felt. I rated this book a 4 stars. It was still good. I just hope that they were building up for the third book and that the third book doesn't disappoint how this one did. But it was still good because it still got a 4 stars. But it was just so darn slow. So the next book that I read is Just the Nicest Family by Allison James. This was an ARC. I got it from NetGalley, and thank you so much, first of all, to NetGalley and Book Autor for letting me read this book because it was super, super good, and I had such a good time reading this ARC. I am not even kidding you. I had a fun time. Okay, it was such fast paced that I just didn't want to put it down. I think I read this book in 2 days. Let me look. Evidence. Yeah, I started this book on June 11th and I finished it on June 13th. So like, literally in 2 days, it was 3 days, whatever you want to say. And it was that good that I just didn't want to put it down. And it felt so good to read this nice, fast paced mystery thriller after reading Iron Flame. It felt really good, I'm not even gonna lie to you. But I think this author did such a great job writing this. Like, it felt really smooth, and I liked the way that she did the POVs to where you had different POVs of everyone kind of in the book, at least the main important people in the book, but you had their POVs of a same timeline that took place either in the past or the future, and that I thought was really cool. It kind of like tied the storyline together a lot more than if we just got one person's POV in their timeline or in their past timeline being talked about and then going back to the future present timeline. I hope that just made sense what I just said. Did that just make sense what I just said? Anywho, it was a really good whodunit. I think the writing was great. I think I said this already. The writing was great. It made you not want to put it down after you got to a certain point in the book because it was just like, what the heck is happening? It was a bit predictable. It had those predictable aspects that you just kind of know from like normal thrillers. If you read a lot of thrillers, you kind of start like piecing things together in your own head. And that's why I don't like reading a lot of thrillers back to back, because when I do, it's just, I start like knowing things already. I'm just like guessing, but I'm correct at the end. But when you just get like a cleanser of a thriller, then it's really nice. The ending definitely had me like jaw dropped. I was like, this whole time, and I'm over here thinking something else. So the ending definitely won me over. I think the twist at the end and the twist even throughout some of it was just really well played and well done, and I really like this book. And I think the ARC is already out. I think it came out on June 19th or June 18th. Don't quote me, I'm just going off the top of my head here. But I think it did, and if you love thrillers, I think this is the book for you because it was super fun, it was super cool, and it was super, I just said super like 5 times. And it was really easy to get into. It wasn't difficult. It didn't have any crazy storyline in the beginning to go into. So yeah, I think it was really good. I rated this book 4 stars. That's all I have to say. And then the next book that I read is All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Brian Greenwood. Dale. This book, oh my god. Oh my goodness. I read this book for a video for the 2 days I'm off how much I can realistically read. If you're really interested to seeing my 100% real reactions throughout this entire book, please go watch that video because I can't be able to recreate that again because it was just so dang good. Like, this book had me on the edge of my seat every time I picked it up. And I didn't want to stop. This was actually one of the perfect books to pick for that video because I feel like if I didn't pick it up for that video and knowing that I had the 2 days off, it probably would have took me too long to read it, and I would have just been upset that I can't read this book because it was so good. I just didn't want to put it down. Now, when I heard about this book, I'm not gonna lie, it was a TikToker. I forgot her name, but she's always like posting her like on her couch and her husband. Anyway, it's from a TikToker and the way that she described this book, I wasn't expecting the love story that we got at all. Not a single bit. I was expecting something totally else. This book was written absolutely to perfection. I don't think I've read a book that the author makes you dislike things so much, but at the same time you like people so much. Like, there was so many things, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but there were so many things that I hated in this book, but the author made it so hard to hate it. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm gonna go crazy trying to explain this book all the time because I've been recommending this book, warning people because trigger warnings, but there's the long list, like from here to here, screen length of trigger warnings for this book. Beware, okay? Even though so many things felt so wrong in this book, I can understand why certain people felt like it was so right in this book, and I couldn't be mad at them, but I wanted to just grab them by the shoulders and just shake them and be like, no! This book is definitely going to be controversial, I feel like, because I can 100% see why people wouldn't like this book for certain things, but I loved it. I loved this book. This is the first 5 stars of the month for me. Okay, even though I wanted to fight some people, I still loved it. Okay, when a book makes you feel all those emotions, kind of like emotions like A Little Life, those are the books that I just vibe with hardcore. Like, those are gonna be my books forever, and I'm gonna think about Wavy, this main character, forever. I'm just saying. So if you like that weird contemporary romance, but dark, very, very dark, tense, weird romance book novel, here you go. Here, this is it. So the next book that I read this month is Fracture Me, which is the 3rd or 2nd novella in the Shatter Me series. It's pretty much Adam's POV, and it was okay. It was fine. I don't really understand why we needed this one at all, to be honest. It didn't really make sense because half the things that this book had, it only was like 60 something pages. 40 of those pages was events that we already knew and we already went through in the last Shatter Me book. So I was really confused, and it definitely didn't even have like his feelings or his like thought process throughout it, which I thought maybe it would, because that's kind of what the first novella did for Warner, but it didn't do that. So I was just, we got his feelings and his thoughts in the last like 10 pages, and I was like, okay. I thought we were gonna get more from that one, but we didn't. And yeah, that's kind of like all my thoughts that I have on that book, because there wasn't much going on that I didn't know about. So 3 stars. The next book that I read this month is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I loved this book, like adored this book, and it definitely pulled me out of the mood that All the Ugly and Wonderful Things put me in, which is, that mood was a little dark and negative for a little while, but this did its job. I don't know why it took me forever to get to it. I feel like it took me forever. It didn't really. It was like a couple of weeks, but it felt like mad long for no reason. When I started reading it, I was enjoying myself so freaking much that I was upset that I didn't just read it as soon as it came out. It was like, ugh. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? And I think the only reason why it took me so long to read this book is because I was hearing way more negative feedback than positive feedback on this one, and I just didn't want to be disappointed. And I was like, alright, if people are hating it, maybe I'll just skip over it. But I'm glad I didn't, because oh my goodness, I loved it. I loved it. The banter between them two was so great and hilarious. I just kept laughing to this book the entire time. But bringing this book with me on the train, just full out giggling at the train station, on the train, at the train stop, waiting for the train, and I didn't care. I didn't care not one bit. And this book had all the tropes in one, which I loved, like forced proximity, friends to lovers, opposites attract. Why are you so loud? Opposites attract. It was so good in everything that I could have wanted. Yeah, I think Emily Henry is just the author for me, honestly, because this book and, Happy Place, I adored to the T. I even have some tabs in here, not as much as I thought I was going to, but it's also because I didn't really bring a pen with me around with this book, and there was just way too many cute banter stuff that I would have been highlighting the entire book, and I was like, no, let me just enjoy the book for what it is, and if I ever want to reread it, I'll just reread it and then highlight and tab then. But at this moment in time, I just needed a book where I can just like sit and read and just enjoy it for what it was giving me. I rated this book a 5 stars. Second 5 stars of the month. And on a serious note, where's my miles? Because I want one. I want one right now. Okay, Miles just was everything. So the last book that I read in June is A Short Walk Through a Wide World by Douglas Westerbeek. This book was like, that's how it, give me a sec. Well, let's just start off here. When people said that this book was giving them the invisible life of Addie LaRue, they were correct. 100%. It definitely had the same aspects, as the same tone as The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. It had the same adventuring, surviving type trope that was going on in both of these books. Now, was I more satisfied at the end of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue than this one? Yes. Yes, I dang well was, okay? Because this book got me upset. That's why I'm like, it was so well done, it was so well done, but like, I want to fight it at the end of the day, because what it did to me at the end was just not right. It was just not right. I felt like the ending, the author kind of just like sped through, but at the same time, I also can feel like the author wanted things to just be a mystery, and for it just to be like an open dialogue of whatever you think happened or why you think things happened, which is cool, but at the same time, I'm someone who needs answers. Okay, I don't want to just go ahead thinking like, did little Billy die or little Billy didn't die? Like, don't know. I can't have that. I need to know if little Billy did die or not. Like, I need the answers of why something happened. And when I don't get that, I just kind of feel like incomplete in a book. And I hate that feeling. When I was in the middle of this book, I thought this was gonna be another 5 stars. I thought I caught the lottery. Like 3 5 stars in 1 month, it's just, that never happens to me. And then the last half of the book, I realized, oh, this is not going to be a 5 stars. Sadly enough. And it isn't. It wasn't for me. It is a 4.5 stars though, I must say, because of the ending. If the ending was just put together a little bit more for me and had more answers, I would have been happy camper, alright? But this book was written very, very well. First time reading from this author as well. I had like so much emotion just put into this book for this girl that I just felt so bad. And I think that's also why this book kind of put me in a reader slump afterwards. And it's not because it was a bad book, or because, it's just because, well, A, I didn't have the answers to my questions, and B, it was just kind of like dark and kind of low-key morbid that I just felt bad after reading this book, and for some reason I just didn't want to pick up another book. I just didn't want to. I'm still on the fence, and it is not June anymore, that's for sure. This book was definitely thought-provoking. It definitely had you thinking about things and trying to see, like, is that a metaphor for this? Is that a metaphor for that? And I think that's also a reason why I think it was beautifully written. I just did not like the ending. It was a beautiful ending, don't get me wrong. But was it the ending that I would have dreamed of? No, it wasn't. So these are the 6 books that I read. My Kindle was on top, so that counts for 2. And yeah, even though I didn't read that many books this month, I had 2 5 stars. And I think that's great. I think that's better than reading 12 books this month and only getting 1. I'm just saying. Don't kill a messenger, alright? I think that's it for this video. So comment down below if you read any of the books that I read in June. If you didn't even read them in June, you just read them in general. How did you feel about it? Comment down below if you felt the same or opposite. Just let me know. Let a girl know. I think that's it for me. But I appreciate you so much. I hope I get to see you, or you get to see me in another video. Later.